Hello, everybody. This is Professor Hamamoto. It is December 23rd, year 2021, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Soon to be year 2022. We've made it, ladies and gentlemen. We've made it through 2 years of the engineered plague. And we're just about turning the corner here. And that's what today's talk is going to be about. First, though, let me indulge in my traditional greetings of Ayape. Greetings to you. And Melissa, how are you? Egary, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but thank you for being here. Debbie, the only the only area where I might outdo you is anger, which you'll hear about today. I thought about doing something in the holiday Christmas spirit of Jesus and forgiveness and such. And I might dwell on it a little bit, but I just been thinking too much about what's been going on lately. And no, I need some catharsis. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So I shifted a little bit there. We're still going to deal with this patient heart concept, but we're gonna we're going to delve into a little bit of catharsis here. So, welcome, Michael, Charlie, and Sean, and Piper Fogel. How are you today? Roland Tay, my friend there down in Los Angeles. Swan 432. We're going to get some fabulous frequencies. Frequencies coming up in 2022. Wendy, Johannes. Yes, hi. How are you? And question mark in the Mysterians in 96 Tears. Hi, Kathy Sue. Is it raining down where you are? I'm in Northern California. It's dark and rainy, and I like it that way. It's gloomy, and it fits my interior state of mind. However, there's some really beautiful birds. I don't know what, they're huge. They look like swans or egrets. I don't know what they are, but the soil is soaked and it pushes up the worms. So they've been feasting in this field out there to their heart's content, that's the way nature works. So you just go with it. Ezra, how are you? 495.3 and Tyrone Sargent is here. Yes. And Ezra Goddard, TCG, Sion Kim. Yeah. Oh, Kathy says it's raining down there. Great. Oh, man. What happened to global warming, huh? All right. So today I'm promising you a summary because, you don't mind me indulging in my own reflections of times past and times to come, my own professional contributions that I've been doing this a long time. And I didn't go into it with this stated purpose because it sounds so grandiose, but I've dedicated myself to identifying, not just identifying, that's not enough. That's step one, but you have to understand it. How does it function? And of course, the last phase of it is undermining or making the system right again. How do you readjust the system after it's out of kilter? We're not quite there yet. We're seeing signs that we're moving into that final phase of restorative justice, as some people call it. But I believe not. In order to have restorative justice, we need retributive justice or retribution, let's say. We needed this at the end of World War II with the Tokyo war crime trials and the Nuremberg. And yes, I know they both were limited in their own ways. But given the grave and huge atrocities that certain individuals were responsible for, and they had, of course, thousands and thousands of lower level people helping them implement this plan to destroy a large swathe of humanity. I have to say, I guess I'm just one of those weak persons who need to see a hanging or corporal punishment in certain cases. In general, I'm against it because they typically put to death the wrong people and they let the high level atrocity makers skate or go free. So in general, I'm against it. but not totally. I won't say blanket. So that's what I mean by retribution, and I'll spell out a little bit more what I mean by this. So that's been my process. I call it undermining the structural nature of crime, because when we talk about crime, these are not just one-off examples. They're just not just one-shot deals. What I mean by structures is that they have a history, right? Let's take an example. We know about the history of eugenics and how that has played out through the years, and we're seeing the final phase of it, the extermination of large targeted populations, not just in the U.S. but the world over. So that's what I mean by structurally. And over those decades, those intervening decades from these figures of the past, the great banking families who want to re-engineer the world to their own utopian vision, which means most of us are going to be gone. Through that time, institutions have become infiltrated and taken over, and they become part of this structure. That's what I mean by structure. So we're not going to be able to get out of this until we hit all the major institutions. There's a really strong grassroots citizen-based movement to reform the Catholic Church, for example. That's really promising. There's a strong movement afoot to and I'm not agreeing necessarily with defund the police, but police departments, both large and small, could be New York City cops all the way to your local town, have suffered from the big boss syndrome, where they're almost laws unto themselves. And but we've seen citizens groups attacking the problem or adjusting the problem. Many, many more examples. The school boards, my gosh, I mean, these parents, man, they're finally got so pissed off that their children are being targeted for debilities or maybe even murder, that they're going to the school boards and they're not having it anymore. But the establishment is so afraid. They want to pass legislation or send the SWAT team in on these people. They're just parents. They're everyday people. They're scared of us. They're scared of people who are on the side of goodness, of justice, of God. And we have that. They don't have that. We have that. This is what Father Vigano says, and this is what the late Father Amort was arguing. He died a couple of years ago. And I was going to try to take his more conciliatory approach today, but I just have not been able to get to that point yet. I want to be like Father Amort, Gabriela Amort, someday. You know, he died at age 91, so I have a few more years to go before I can really fully integrate as a human being and fully embrace the ethic of Jesus of Nazareth. You know, the forgiveness, right, of humanity. So at least that's how I'm rationalizing my resolute anger that I carry all the way up to the end of 2021, because this has been going on for 2 years and we're not having it anymore. You understand? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about. I'm putting my Akashic record out there. You know, my energies towards the miscreants out there, and they're monitoring this channel, even though they're suppressing the numbers. I know it's the message is getting out there. So, but we are going to try to aim for that ideal of what I call the patient heart. All right, the patient, that is the heart that can sustain being broken and hammered and abused and betrayed time and time again, but still have within it forgiveness and hope for humanity, even hope for the evil ones if they want to change course. And it's up to their own free will to do that. It's within their well, maybe they need to be exorcised first. So, and as you know, the exorcism business is booming in 2021. I shouldn't be laughing. We've been afflicted by the spirit of Satan, growing and growing and growing over the past century or more. seemed to kick in around World War II, and it hasn't stopped yet. But we might be turning the corner on that too, thanks to the long-lived Father Gabriele Amort. Man, what an individual! Oh, and by the way, if you have the time and the stomach, because there's some pretty harrowing, let's call it, scenes in the film. It's not what you expect. It's done by William Friedkin, but there's no Hollywood effects in here. There's no special effects like in The Exorcist. It's just him and his little camera, his portable camera. Not even, it's this high definition. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's really compelling. But it's not on this channel. It's on the Cultural Forensics channel. It's my backup channel. If you look under Cultural Forensics, Professor Hamamoto, you can watch it. It's 1 hour long, 1 hour and 10 minutes, more accurately. You can watch it at your leisure and see what I'm getting at. We do need not just individual exorcisms, but we need an exorcism, just like we're dealing with the social dissociative disorder, as I call it, or dissociative social disorder. We are also under, in society in general, we're under the sway of these satanic forces. So the film is very good for to understand the enormity of the problem, and that it can be solved, again, with patience such as exhibited by the long-suffering Father Gabriel Amort. And one of the reasons why I felt that even at the last moment when I changed course from Father Amort's approach to my own is that he, as a young man, took up arms. And I'm not saying take up arms, but he had lived through the worst in modern times in fascist politics under Mussolini in Italy, who was aligned, of course, with the Third Reich, Adolf Hitler. And he wasn't a father then; he was a civilian. In fact, I don't think he was adorned. I don't think he was really confirmed as a priest until I think he was age 28. I don't know if that's young or not. It sounds kind of a little get up there in age to be ordained as a priest. And by the way, I made a mistake. He's not of the Society of Jesus. He's of the Society of Paulo or Paul. He's a Pauline, right? He's not a Jesuit. He's a Pauline. So thank you for not catching that. People nitpick on other items, but for some reason this seemed to escape your detection. But I'm not complaining. I thank you for your interest enough in watching my videos to nitpick. Sometimes you don't realize, though, that I'm making these mistakes on purpose, or I'm mispronouncing certain words for comedic effect. But I have to learn not to be ironic on YouTube because not everybody gets it. So watch that. It's called The Devil and Father Amorth, directed by the same individual who did The Exorcist, William Friedkin. And you know where it is. Okay. Another announcement before I launch into the main body of today's talk. Good news. Kirby Summers, the author, we're going to do a recorded audio interview. It's not going to be a live stream because we're in a different time zone. And she's an early riser. And I don't want to, and she works really, really hard. It's kind of embarrassing. I mean, I'm embarrassed the degree to which, she does a double shift. I think she hardly sleeps. So that's one of the reasons why I don't want to infringe on her time by doing a live stream. And so we agreed to do an audio interview, and I might put it on delay and run it here or just run it separately. But the point is that we're going to do this interview sometime after Christmas, but before New Year's. Just sort of, she's taking a little break right now, but we're going to do that, and we're both very excited, looking forward to sharing insights about her research area, which, again, it's another theme of today going into Christmas and Christmas Eve, is that so much goodness has come out in the past year out of adversity, been faced by adversity. Humanity has risen to the challenge. We have a lot to be very thankful of over this nativity holiday, right? Christmas Eve, and going into the new year. It's all coming from the grassroots, and I say this because um, we've gotten over this idea that, oh, well, write your congressman, right? Let's pass legislation or complain to the mayor, go to the principals, whatever it is. Those people are either corrupt or indifferent or well, you know the story. It's pretty much a given that they're not going to be responding to us. So let's take those jobs and put ourselves in them. But before that, let's just take the initiative and just say, "Hey, we do not consent to the will of the non-people, you humanoids up there. We didn't vote for this. We didn't agree to any of it. We didn't consent to it, and we reject it." So she's a prime example of that. Another prime example, this is my third announcement, is that another citizen journalist, in addition to Kirby Summers, Manny Grossman, and we're going to do another show. I'm going to be on his channel by agreement. And as you know, he's been revisiting this classic book by Maury Terry, The Ultimate Evil. This is about the second or third copy I have. This is the most recent one. I don't think it's ever been revised, but this one has the brand of the Netflix series, which, by the way, I watched all the way through yesterday, last into the late evening hours. There's 4 parts of season 1. And if I have time, I'll talk about Joshua Zeman's films in true crime, because that's the main focus today, true crime. Uh, and I had some mixed feelings about him at first, but after watching again, I watched it when it first came out, but after watching it again in preparation for my visiting Manny's Grossman's channel, short, I think it's going to be January 3rd, but don't hold me on that, all right? Because it still needs to be. He's shooting for that, but it's not really set in stone yet. But it's going to be very soon into the new year, 2022. But Manny is another great example of how out of the grassroots are coming all kinds of interesting, thoughtful, incisive, articulate individuals such as Manny Grossman, who are putting back on the agenda a a certain realm of society that up until recently has been always seen as being singular, one-off, aberrant, one-of-a-kind type situations. That's what I mean by the difference between the one-off approach and the structural evil, structural crime, structural corruption, right? If we think of it in terms of systems and structures, I think we're going to have a lot. I know we're going to have a lot more impact in getting rid of some of these. Not getting rid of them. That's a little bit too. It's unrealistic. Reducing significantly, let's say that, because the devil's always there. Satan's there. Satan's there to test us. Luciferian will be with us, trying to push our buttons, because a lot of it is for shock and outrage. The other part of it is to take over and to rule over humanity and the world. We're not going to let that happen. So he's another example of people, and I reach out to them. I want to talk to them. I want to help whatever way I can in their research by exchanging ideas, insights, information, and perhaps even argue certain points about it. For example, it's not even really an argument, but the second time around, after watching those 4 parts by Joshua Zeman, the director, it's called The Sons of Sam. I'm even more impressed by his work, especially since, and I didn't realize it at the time, I had seen his other documentary prior to this one called, what is it? A Murder Town or something, Murder Village. Let me see in my notes here. It's called Murder Mountain. That came out in 2018, and that's about the Northern California. Not, I'm in Northern California, but I'm not a marijuana country. But if you move, let's say an hour, 2 hours, maybe an hour in up north from where I am, you're getting into heavy marijuana industry culture. And this incredible document, it's a multi-part series as well on Netflix. Yes, I said it, Netflix. It's not all bad. It's not all bad. Use the tools when you can. So Netflix is a tool. That's all it is. But that was an incredible multi-part series on the part of the same director who did the Sons of Sam more recently. Um, that Manny Grossman and others are examining, going through with a fine-tooth comb, to great effect, I might add. For my purpose, what I see going on here is a form of policing on the part of we civilians. Policing, not in the sense of being vigilantes, but in the sense of sharing and exchanging information. And what's happening there is that it's forcing these muckety mucks, these self-appointed muckety mucks, are not, like right? They put their pants on one leg at a time, like you and me, but they're full of self-importance. Just look at Kamala Harris. My God, that smug look on her face. Hey, I heard Nancy Pelosi is not running for re-election. My gosh, she's finally going to let it all hang out in San Francisco. She's just going to sit there in her Nob Hill home, her mansion with her husband, if he's still around, or her boyfriend or sex lives, whatever she keeps up there. She's just going to sit there and play with her money. She's just going to throw the dollar bills and all of it that she collected from various governments and corporations over the years. That's going to be her in retirement, Nancy Pelosi. I wish you the best, Nancy Pelosi, for all your years of public service. And you're lucky you're leaving office now, because because the whole conviction of Professor Lieber is just the beginning, there's going to be a whole slew of people who are going to be convicted, and they're going to be charged, prosecuted, convicted, and punished. And I'm really interested to see what the penalty phase is. And for traitors, historically, it's always been the death penalty, death by hanging or firing squad. So again, we're seeing a sea change taking place, and the sea change is not happening because of global warming. It's happening because of you, the citizen journalist, and me to a certain extent. I'm a troublemaker. I admit it. I'm not a priest. I don't pretend to be a man of God, and I believe in the Ten Commandments, but I I don't know. What my batting average is probably pretty low, but I try though. I'm trying. I'm trying to be a good person, and I'm trying to expunge all this anger and this hate and this retributive. Uh, just you know what it is. It's urami in Japanese. It's urami in Korean. It's han. It's like swallowing the pain, swallowing, eating anger. And it's universal, by the way. Every culture, every society has some idea of it. And I'm sure you're feeling your share of it as well. After seeing loved ones, friends suffer, and all kinds of hardships that we've been subjected to over the last 2 years in particular, it's been intensified. It's been a tough decade, but the last 2 years have been especially hard. And so let's be easy on ourselves, but let's be peaceful. Let's keep a peaceful heart and a peaceful body as well, because justice with a capital J will execute the plan. We don't have to. We've done our part by sharing the information, the knowledge, the wisdom. So, why true crime? Well, you know what? Again, this is part of my argument that there has been I hate to use the word because it's been corrupted, it's been co-opted, zeitgeist, right? You remember that awful film, transhumanist film, Zeitgeist? But let's take the word back. Let's reappropriate it from the appropriated. Zeitgeist means time, spirit, but in German. The zeitgeist has changed the point largely because of this self-education in this genre called true crime, not just the Netflix shows. In fact, those Netflix series wouldn't have been possible until there was a huge grassroots upsurge of interest through the internet, blogs, YouTube, of course, or Tubu as I call it, obsessing over true crime. I gave the example of that one gal. I forgot her name. She's very entertaining. She's all tatted up and she applies makeup for 60 minutes. And while she's doing it, she's retelling some true crime books that she read. It's really entertaining. She's got like, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million subscribers. That's just one dramatic example. There's tons of people who are doing this on podcasts and whatever. It's the number one genre, not just online, but in literature, nonfiction, right? In movies, films, right? Silence of the Lambs. How old is that? I mean, there's tons. You look on Netflix, true crime, true crime, true crime, either adaptations or documentaries. So I made my point. And this is one of the more welcome changes in the popular culture, so far as I'm concerned. Last Thursday, I talked about how the popular music has been taken over by AI beat Nazis, right? Coming out of Sweden, it's a Germanic Teutonic tech and techno takeover of human composition. And that's why all the major songwriters are getting out and cashing out while they can, because they know it's all going automated. Just like you actors out there, you're going to have to retool and find a new way of exhibiting your thespian skills, because you're going to be taken over by avatars very, very soon, sooner than you might imagine. But this is one of the more welcome changes in the popular culture. And again, it's not coming from the top down, from Hollywood or from the FCC or the Federal Trade Commission or the World Horror Organization, right? WHO. It's not coming from the top down. It's coming from the grassroots. It's something that we have a inherent interest in, thank goodness, because of our own sense of survival and curiosity. And yes, human beings seem to be attracted to the outre, or the bizarro, or the unusual. That's how the human sensorium operates. We're alarmed when we see something jump, move, startling us, right? And it's the same way in society. We're alarmed when something is, everything's going along nice, and all of a sudden a ghost jumps out at us, or someone who is wielding a knife, or it's the Joker dancing down the steps, right? That's how we respond as a species, and all animals are like that. I saw the birds out there, and as soon as the dogs started coming in, man, they took off. And the dog was never going to catch them, but they left, right? So this has been a welcome change here. And we see here, let me dwell on one last example of this. We see the whole grassroots discussion about pedophilia. And again, it's not a one-off, right? Penn State was not a one-off. The universities are run on ephebophilia. I made that point over and over. Ephebophilia are older people, right? 18 and above, or 17. Some are younger, but the average freshman is 18 years old, maybe 19. And so they get away on a technicality because they're adults, right? They can't. The people who are preying on them, and that's a lot of administrators, by the way. Some of them who I know from where I worked, including one of the ex-chancellors, they can get away with it because they're adults. And Penn State was not. Again, we have to talk about structural. We have to talk about systemic corruption here, and then we have a chance at eradicating it. So the campaign, the grassroots campaign, and by the way, I saw recently a channel on YouTube about that executive at CNN got busted by someone who had a YouTube channel and confronted him, and that producer lost his job. And CNN has been exposed. We're talking about the CNN in Atlanta, GA, right? CNN, the cable Nazi network. He was a senior producer, and boy, they really cut ties with him real quick. Brian Setzer, maybe it's time for you to start polishing your resume. Who's going to take you at this point? Maybe you're going to be on YouTube along with me soon. But anyway, good example there of citizen journalism at work, right? And I would say that the election of Donald Trump and the popularity of his presidency, as short-lived as it was really buoyed by the fact that he kept an active campaign against pedophilia. And this was something that his constituency wanted badly. And so we saw a few of these networks, pedophile networks, trafficking networks getting rolled up every once in a while. They didn't go high enough, right? We have to just keep pushing. We're not going to have these overnight wins, these overnight successes. It's a process here. But I'm just telling you, we're moving in the right direction here in the larger popular culture. And I'd even have to forgive me, but I'm going to give Dorsey, what's his first name? Jack Dorsey. I'm going to give him a thumbs up. Well, maybe I'll give him a middle finger, but I'm going to give Jack Dorsey kudos for Twitter being instrumental in the Me Too grassroots deal, showing that structurally certain institutions, in one case Hollywood, but it's in the government, and I'm sure in all the, we talked about the university, all the major institutions. It was, from what I could tell, was a grassroots organizational campaign using the tools of the enemy, Twitter, Jack Dorsey, which are usually known for censorship and oppression and the random exercise of super state power. They have the power of government, and they're just a corporation. It's time for us to rein them in, just as it's time for us, we the people, the citizenry, citizen journalists, to rein in the power of the universities, which are operating like a sovereign government. More on that in a moment when I talk about the case of one Professor Charles Lieber of Harvard, and he was the chair of he's the convicted. He's a convict now. He's the former chair of the chemistry department at Harvard University. We'll get to that in a moment. So, as I told you before, I've been reading true crime ever since I was a kid, well into adulthood. And I know the exact time when I said, "Hey, this is not just a one-off. All these crimes are related somehow in a systemic fashion," right? This has been the theme of today's talk. There's a structure there. There's a connection between seemingly unrelated crimes. And this came about when a friend of mine, Carl Boggs, who was I was an editor too of it, of this political science journal called A New Political Science, said, "Hey, we want you to do this essay on militarism and society." So I said, well, hey, I've read all these true crime books. Now it's time for me to put it into some sort of systematic form. And I did. And I came out with an essay. I'm trying to find it so I can share it on my Patreon. I don't know where it is. I'm really disorganized with my own work here, so far as my file system's concerned. But I came up with an essay. It's called what is it? Not Masters of War. It appeared in an anthology by Carl Boggs called Masters of War. It's called Empire, Killers of Empire, something of that nature. It's been such a long time, and I'm working on a new book on dissociation, and I'm dissociating right now. So that was around 2001, 2002. Later, it came out in a book. So in a flash of insight, because I was forced to write this essay, I said, okay, true crime is telling us about the way the larger society functions. Just as Maury Terry, the author of Ultimate Evil, started out pursuing one story in a neighborhood that he was familiar with, right? I think a block away was David Berkowitz living on Pine Street, and digging into that. He was a journalist, working professional journalist, Maury Terry, digging in on the life and times of David Berkowitz and the specifics, the forensics of the crime, and then finding out that it was linked to a much larger whole, right? A system, as I've talked about. And I'm not going to go over the book again. That's not the source or the gist of today's talk here. But that's what did it for me. So I've been at it for quite a long time. Now, the difference for me, and I'm going to brag on myself for a moment. I know you're used to it, but let me indulge myself again. I talked about Charles Lieber. I alluded to him at least. And I will have to say that, and I paid for it. I paid for it with my career, right? Charles Lieber has been getting away with what he's doing and getting well paid and recognized at Harvard, right? He's got the prestige going for him as well as the big bucks, the American dollars, right, coming in. For decades, I had to pay for my career. So how did I do this? Well, I took my background, my interest in this essay I did on criminality, right? That I published back in 2002, 2003. And not expanded, I started anew. It took me a long time to do it. And I finally came up with this book called Servitors of Empire. And this is 2014. That's why I have to write a new book, because it's been a while. I need to, it's my sense of pride, my own self pride. I need to have that book out on the dissociative society, or dissociative social disorder, as I'm calling it. But I extended this whole notion of criminality, because first I was just examining individuals as being individual perpetrators of crimes who happen to be Asian Americans. There's David Ho, right? Ho. He is a Ho for the Rockefeller family. He's at Rockefeller University. He holds the Irene Diamond, who's one of these Ziocons, filthy rich, putting, Epstein level type rich, putting money into these institutions and funding David Ho, Taiwanese American, supposedly finding the cure to AIDS. Of course, there's no cure, but that's really irrelevant. The point is that you're using academic institutions in order to launder your ill-gotten wealth. That's Irene Diamond and Norman Mineta, Secretary of Treasury. So what I came up with is that we're not talking about one us, we're talking about a system, and this is a system called American Empire, right? So that's the conceptual basis for this book. So what do you think I felt when Charles Lieber was rolled up last year? Well, how do you think I felt when he was tried and real recently, in the last couple of days, was convicted? I felt vindicated, because that type of material, this is the source of this book, which I couldn't get published with a academic press. I tried my own publisher, Temple University Press, but Janet Frenzendese, who I had a great professional relationship, when she saw the manuscript, said, "What am I going to do with this?" And then she retired. And I also sent it to other people who were very interested, but I think they were spies. A lot of these publishers want to look at your manuscript so they can see what's coming down the pike. And they won't sign you, but they'll distribute your manuscript out there. And I won't give you the name of it, but it happened to me in a couple of instances. Only Chris Milligan of Trying Day said, "Okay, you're making a good argument here. We're going to publish it." So thanks, Chris. And there's going to be more. There's going to be more books. I have tons more that I need to be writing about. So I felt really a sense of vindication that I was focusing in on the Asian American contribution to the criminal underground. Well, they're not an underground, they're the criminal overworld, because that's really what is at the source of our problem today, with the Great Reset and the Great Needle, and the Great Travel Ban, and all the great, and the great climate change, is that we have a normative political climate that's occupied by high-level criminals. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical sense, because look at Lieber's been convicted, right? Sure, he might get a slap in the hand, but hey, come on. We're setting a precedent here. We're sending a signal here that the university system itself needs a thoroughgoing investigation, and whoever wants to launch it, I volunteer, free of charge. I will volunteer to be a committee member. And we're going to take back the university for the American people, for the people of planet Earth. And they're going to start doing research that's pro-human instead of anti-human, post-human, or transhuman. That's what you're going to do. I say so. You say so. the 8 billion people on planet Earth say so. And you know what? You'll still be rich. You'll still be highly, Irene Diamond, we're not going to touch your wealth. You can still have your own chair that endows Dr. David Ho and all you other miscreants there. We're not going to touch a single dime of your wealth. We need gangsters. We need crooks in order to make the world go around. Look at Donald Trump. He was a crook. He made the U.S. presidency, but he also did a pretty good job while he was doing it. He didn't take it as far as we needed to go, but by gosh, if you want to catch snakes, you got to have a snake to catch them, right? With that's like attracts like. So my prescience about Asian American criminality has borne out, and I'm saying Asian. When I say Asian American, I'm talking about primarily South Asian. You're talking about Indian and to a certain extent Pakistani in South Asia. And so there's not very many Malaysian gangsters at this point as Sri Lankans. There are a couple of people in the finance, right? But mostly South Asian. And then we're talking about East Asian, Japanese and Chinese primarily, but also some Taiwanese and South Korean especially. Yeah, these are they're a much larger threat to criminal enterprise in America than all your usual scapegoats. Oh, it's the Rosicrucians, it's the Masons, it's the Jews, it's whoever, whatever group. We know about that. We've read it. We've studied it, and it's quite amusing. It's a lot of fun and shows how smart and hooked up we are and connected to what's really going on. Man, it's the Godfather. It's this group and that group, but most people don't know. That's my contribution here, right? And I'm going to be showing. Oh God, I'm running out of time. Let me get right into it then. Let me show you that I'm part of it because I like gangsters. I like Yakuza. Without Yakuza, there would be no modern Japan, right? And Yakuza are also transnational. They're all over in the United States of America. They're all over the world. They're all over in South Korea, even though South Korea pretends that. In fact, most Yakuza in Japan are ethnic Koreans. They're not Japanese. They're Koreans, all right? And they're all over in the Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Taiwan, you name it. And they all work together. Criminality is really good because it's multi-ethnic. Everybody wants to get paid. Everybody wants to make some money, right? So but they're always fighting as well because they're fighting over dollars or yen or shekels or whatever the currency is. So let me just go in some of the metaphysics of at least Japanese criminality. And one of the reasons why I'm saying we because I feel that I'm gangster as well. Yeah, it's kind of amusing to think of me in those terms, but that was my academic persona, by the way. I told you Donald Margolis, the big attorney from UC, the University of California headquarters, working for Janet Napolitano, refused to get on an elevator with me. He cut and run. He saw I was the only one standing there. He ran the other way. All right, so that's my rep. Now, the reason that the we, not the imperial we, but I include myself because I'm gangsta, I'm Yakuza. I have all my fingers though, because I haven't embarrassed myself yet. There's always a chance that I might one day. But we come from a deep metaphysical tradition that precedes the East India Company, the English, the British East India Company, all the piratical organizations. We had our own piratical empire in the Sea of Japan, the southern seas, and all that. Right? No state could ever really keep us in check. We just whatever we saw, we went there, we took it. And it was up to you to try to protect what you had. And if you couldn't, tough luck. It's ours, right? By the way, that's the Viking model of business. And Viking is not a person. It's not a tribe. Viking is a verb. Viking means to raid. You're Viking. You're going over there, over to the British Isles, and you're going to start stealing their cows, right? Or you're going to set up your colony over there. It's the way of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Why would it end in 2021? Come on, grow up. So we have to address the facts of life here. So we come from a deep metaphysical tradition, and the reason I forgot my point here. The reason why we have been able to get away with it is because thanks to Hollywood, you've been hiring ass clowns like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, these fanboys who supposedly represent what the Asian criminal is all about, right? And so people don't really take us seriously. So you really don't know. You think that we're just a bunch of white frock people who bring to you your medications, your prescriptions at Walgreens, right? Or we're the doctors at the hospital that are empty, even though Governor Cuomo said that they're full of COVID patients, right? That's who you think about us, or people who win the spelling bees all the time. So you do not understand the gangsta element, the gangsta dialectic that works in that combination. You know, you think that, yeah, like on Rosh Hashanah or New Year's Eve or Christmas, you can go to our restaurant, right? The Chinese restaurant, always open. That's dependable. That's like clockwork. But let me check this out. I'm going to break down, and of course, you see all these cheesy movies with Ralph Macchio and about the ninja and shinobi and all that. And it's always some non Asian person who's playing the role, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme or some, it could be, what's the other guy? Steven Seagal. He's my favorite posier of them all. But dig it. Here's the character of ninja. Okay, see that? Let's go back here to the character. Let me put it on pause. That's ninja or shinobi. The upper part, that's the whole character in Chinese, Kwanji or kanji in Japanese. The scholars who came up with these characters, these are pictograms. They're originally representations or abstractions of objects. And the object that you're seeing on the top there is a sword. It's a blade, right? That's that little curved deal, like that's a blade, or probably like a sickle with a handle with a cutting edge on it. And that little blotch on left side is blood. It's dripping blood. And the bottom character is patience, or it's heart. It's heart. It's heart. Kokoro is, in Japanese is heart. I don't know what it is in Chinese because it's a Chinese character. So you have a dripping blade, a sword blade, or an edged blade, an edged weapon combined with a heart, right? What an image there, right? So that's the first radical, or the first character in a compound kanji for shinobi or ninja. So where's the second part? Where is it? Here we go. I guess that's it. I'm not getting any. It's not moving. Let me take it off there. You get the point there. The second part is person anyway. That's ninja is a person. So what that means as a concept is that it's someone who has a bladed weapon in their heart, and they have to be patient in order to wield their strength and to reveal their power. They don't wear the bling. They're not driving a fancy car. They don't have a giant mansion on West 76th Street like Jeffrey Epstein, all right? And they don't have like the Lolita Express, and they don't have private islands and running all kinds of game like that. That's not the ninja way. It's more stealthy, and that's why it's much more powerful. It's the hidden blade in the heart. You keep the violence and the anger and the retributive force within yourself until it's ready, the time is ready to strike. And that's where the patience comes in. And our time is coming fairly soon. All right. So you go through life pretending that you're blind. Maybe you're deaf, you're a little bit slow, or you're a joker. You know, you're funny. The reason why I got away with what I did for over 20 years at the University of California, Davis, is that they thought I was a joke. They thought I was putting them on. And by the time they figured out I was for real and serious as a heart attack, it was too late. I had already reached generations of students about the New World Order. Right. So I really identified as a child. I have to thank my parents. They took me to see Japanese movies made in Japan, not made by Ron Howard or Quentin Tarantino, the real straight up Japanese movies. So I knew about Zatoichi. Zatoichi was the blind masseur. He was the blind man who wandered around the countryside in Japan in a time of great turmoil and violence. And people just ignored him because he's just some blind masseur. Anma, I think they're called in Japanese. But of course he's blind, so they would just see him as a non-person. They would talk and blab about secret information, where the treasure is, and who's doing what in such town, and who the boss is here, and how they're conspiring against it. Because he's a masseur, and sometimes they would have their meetings in front of them. He's massaging them blind, and they're talking mafia business, yakuza, serious yakuza mafia business to him. So they think he's weak. But no, he's got the shinobi ethic inside him. He's got the true gangsta shinobi patient heart. This is where the patient heart comes in. So let's take a look at this one great movie. I suggest you rent it or purchase it. This is a remake of the Zatoichi, originally starring Katsu Shintaro back in the 60s, this franchise. You can still find those. But Beat Takeshi, Kitano Kateshi, I'm sorry, Kitano Takeshi, who was started out as a manzai comedian. It's like a duo, Japanese traditional comedy, who later became a international star of movies, right? So this is the Beat Takeshi remake of Zatoichi, and here's how the Japanese mafia rolls. This is the patient heart of my people. All right, here we go.
あそこに座ってるアンマさんの血を取ってきてくれねえか。うまくいったらダチンをやるから。よし。じゃあ気づかれないように静かに行けよ。
Sorry, it's gone wanky on me. Let's see. Yeah, I guess the algorithm picked up on it. Okay, you can imagine what happens. I'll just describe it to you. He comes out of his seeming slumber, and he just has his way with these individuals on the little rise there, and that's why those gangsters are fleeing away. These are the bosses. These are the Liebers of the world, right? The people, the Faucis of the world, who think they have it over us. They're gonna own our health and our society, right? That's the Zatoichi method. Let me see if this particular clip works here. Again, here's the blind swordsman. This is from the same movie. It's called Zatoichi.
あんまさん。
姉さん、逃げろ。
おい、先生呼んでこい。へい。
どうすんだよおいおいやる
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put myself up back big stream. Yes. You can see all these clips, and there's some full length Zato. When preparing for this talk today, I was really surprised that there's so many of them up there for free if they don't freeze. So this is how my favorite part of that really gory scene. Of course, it's simulated violence, not real violence, not like the violence is being done to us, courtesy of Dr. Anthony Fauci and the World Health Organization and the other entities that are supposedly looking. That's true violence. This is simulated violence. But my favorite part of that scene there is when the guy goes for the gun, it shoots, and it hits one of his own men. That's what's happening to the elite right now. They're going to kill each other. They already going to start it. If Lieber gets any jail time, he's going to be Epsteined because he's not the only one. They're going to have to silence him. This is what happened in the Son of Sam case. Is once David Berkowitz was rolled up, they could not stop there. All these people started dying. This is in the book, and this is in the documentary. This Carr family, one of the, I think it was John Carr, committed suicide. He blew his brains out in distant Minot, North Dakota. So when you want to talk about justice and how it relates to the patient heart, this is something that's empirically demonstrated through history, through human history. They will shoot themselves, not in the foot, but in the head, and shoot each other in the head. They will slice and dice. So, but we have to do our part. We have to keep the pressure up. We have to exchange the information. We have to do the informational research and exchange and be on each other's shows. Like I'm going to be with Manny, and Kirby Summers is going to come on my show, and we're going to exchange information. And that has that synergistic force of information and passion that is carried further. So that's my Christmas message to you. I'm sorry I couldn't take the more pacifistic approach of Jesus the Christ, but even he was an exorcist. He himself, he exorcised people, right? It's in the New Testament. And he did have some anger management problems, especially when he chased the money changers from the temple, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to rationalize my own issues, and I hope you will, in the spirit of the holidays, find it in your heart to forgive me if I went a little bit too far. But we're ending the end of the year. We have a couple more shows next week, and we're going to be wrapping up 2021, and I'll be celebrating my 1-year anniversary on Christmas Eve here, doing YouTube shows. So I thought I would end on this really strong note of an inspirational note about justice, because justice will be done. Thy will be done. So with that, thank you very much, CF Neil, Doll221, B Toth. Share this video, this talk today. Please subscribe. Please watch the documentary the devil and Father Amors on the other channel. Spread the information, because as I've been saying, this has been the recurrent theme of today's talk. This is how we win, right? We exchange information. We look at problems, old problems, in new ways. We take different approaches, right? We're not going to write to our congressman. We're going to find new ways to solve old problems. That's the message, the holiday message. Merry Christmas, each and every one of you. Happy holidays. I look forward to being with you, God willing, in 2022. And we're really moving along. Thank you so much. Thank you. Peace out. See you next time. Bye.